Hello everybody, Professor Homey here. I thought I'd make a follow-up video on my system that wins, a very unique, different system that wins at craps. It's a good system, and I'd say follow-up, so if you have not already watched the first video that I made that explains the system, how and why it works, you have to go back and watch that, because that's the one that explains it. But I wanted to make this follow-up video to show you, well, maybe some things that I've learned along the way that make it better, that we can add to the system, so to speak. And they're very easy things, but speaking of learned along the way, if you notice in the lower left screen of the computer here, you see that my balance it shows a very successful system, at least sometimes. No guarantees every time, but I the website I use to play for free is wizardofodds.com, but even Bovada has a practice site, and a lot of them have free ones, so you can play for free online. But anyway, they start you at $10,000 on this one, and I'm up to $163,000. So the system must work, right? I'm 55 years old. I would have no idea how to cheat that to make that number. That is actually winnings that I've acquired, gained over like 2 or 3 days, about 2 hours each day. So I guess about 6 or 7 hours worth of playing, and that's where I'm at. And so it works. But how did I get there, and what did I? More importantly, I'm going to just share with you something that I learned kind of along the way that. As far as increases winnings. And speaking of winnings and playing for free and so forth, the same disclaimer as always. This is a system to win at a game called craps. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme, and it's not a way. Anyway, don't think it's a money-making opportunity. My recommendation is that you don't gamble for money. You can lose a lot of money. But you can play online for free, and you can play against your friends for free, and like any game, your goal is to win, and this is a great system to do that. I also wanted to just briefly respond to some of the negative comments, just to answer maybe questions that are in people's minds. Not so much about the negative commenters themselves, but just to answer questions people might have. I'm actually kind of surprised that I get negative comments, just because, and realistically, relatively speaking, if over 3,000 people have watched my video and maybe I've had 10 negative comments, relatively speaking, that's a few, that's not very many. But in case other people have questions, I'll answer them, I hope. The reason I'm kind of surprised about any negative comments, this isn't a scam. I'm not making money. I'm not trying to trick people out of their money. I don't gain anything by directing people. It's just a system I came up with that I feel like it works really well, and I just wanted to share it. And if you don't like it, that's okay. Don't use it. Or if you have constructive criticism, that's fine. But the negative comments weren't very constructive criticism. Well, let me just give you some examples. I'll just run some by you and see what you think. The one that a couple people mentioned is dice are random, and you don't know what the next roll is going to be. And, well, okay, Mr. Obvious, it's not like we don't all know that, okay? Dice are random. I acknowledged that probably 5 times or more in the first video. But even that you're talking about random means that you're focusing more on odds, and the system is based more on probabilities. And again, watch that first video, because that explains, probabilities are more based on the odds are the next roll. Probabilities are kind of the long haul. And anyway, I make very clear that yes, your purse will go up and down, but over the long haul is where it starts to gradually go up and up and up. So anyway, that's that one. So one guy commented, well, the field is a sucker bet, and that's true. You know what? The house has the edge on every bet on the craps table, and so they're all sucker bets. That's not exactly a news flash. And like I think I mentioned in the first video that, in the cash register, your best bets, you can get it down to about a 1% house edge, which is good. I mean, that's really good. But they still do have the edge. And in the field with 12, if you can find one where Boxcars pays triple, I think the House Edge is under 3. I think it's around 2.5%. The difference between 1% and 2.5%, that's minimal, realistically. If you can get the probabilities to work for you, or at least do a little better with the probabilities, I believe you can compensate for that. So anyway, that's your choice if you want to believe it or not. But one guy talked about, well, yeah, if you use real dice, okay, well, I have used real dice at home here, and the system works pretty well for that too. The only reason I use the computer is because it's easier and faster, and it's easier to show people on a YouTube video. Let me leave one more thought to just, if you are a person who left negative comments, my suggestion is go back and read your own comments, kind of look in the mirror. Are they all negative points? Is that all you got to bring to the table? A positive thinking person might say something like, well, this point works and this part works, but, I have kind of a question or an issue with this particular point, and then give some intellectual reason that you have an issue with a point. That's called constructive criticism. We're all okay with that. But, excuse me. Excuse me 1 second there. Anyway, if all your comments are negative, that kind of tells you a little bit about yourself, doesn't it? And, well, I won't say any more on that, but it's a good way for you to look in the mirror. All right, so let's quit wasting time with that negative stuff, and let's just get into what I've learned. And I don't think I'm going to actually show you. Excuse me. Well, you know what? Maybe. Let's go ahead and fire it up a little bit. So what have I learned here? I'm going to move our little Professor Homey guy. So as you get a larger amount pursed, I've kind of added to my system a little bit. You still play your system. So it's been a little while. I feel the field is due. I'm going to put, I was going to put $500 in there. That's $600. And then now this is our come out roll, our beginning roll, and nope, it lost. Okay, well, I'm fine with that. I'm not going to show you that much anyway. So my next move is usually I put $1,000 in the don't come, all right? And then I roll it out. And I'm actually kind of hoping that this fails, just to show you my plan B here. But you still do it this way because sometimes it works out right away. And now we need another come out bet. Now you've had a couple of those, so the field's kind of due, right? So let's double that because I think it's due and I think it's going to hit. And sure enough, it did. All right, so now let's place our pass line bet again because we still need to get rolling here. And okay, there's a 10. So we could have done the field again, but okay. So now, like I've told you, you want to start while you're waiting on this, on the don't come bet, you start putting money in the cash register, or start playing. Excuse me, boy, my throat went dry here. Anyway, you want to keep going. So like I've got, when you got a lot to work with, you don't really care if you drop a couple $1,000s, like, yeah, whatever. So for odds, I'll put like $600 on a $200 come bet. And again, well, we'll talk about it more, but this money, you can take the odds back out. You can't take this out because if you would have hit a 7, you would have won this come bet. So now it's up here. Every time you place a come bet, it kind of hedges whatever's up here. So let's just keep going. And there's that. So let's put $500 on that. And again, this is going to test our purse a little bit. We kind of hedging it with this. But my goal, my actual hope in this case is that the system doesn't work, because that does happen sometimes. And then we're going to proceed without that. So, all right, let's keep going. Oops, I forgot to place I forgot to put the come bet. By the way, we'll put a couple hundred on that one. All right, so there's your 8. Well, that was nice. And sometimes you can roll this a long way, but yeah, my thing is to keep, oops, I forget the come bet again. And if you ever want, you do this in multiples of 6, but you could put like $300 here, and that way if you roll at 8, you'll hit it. Let's go 600. Okay, so we got, sometimes that happens, and let's see, there's your 8, so let's go. All right, keep going. 5. Well, this is showing how the system works too. Um, Oops, too much. That's all right. Let's just throw it out there. It's amazing how when you have 160,000, you get pretty careless with how much you throw on the field. It doesn't really matter. Well, this is doing quite well for us. And there's your 7 out. So in that case, it worked great. And now we're up to 168,000. Let me just explain it to you. So let's say that 6 would have lost, that we hit another 6 and we lose the don't come bet, but we've got all this money scattered here. My big suggestion is to keep putting money in here and keep increasing the come bets, which keeps increasing the amount in the cash register. Every time you put, like, if you put $700, for example, $800 in the come field, and maybe you've got $2,000 up here, if you roll a 7, you know what, you're going to lose that $2,000, and that's kind of, obviously not what you want. But if you keep hedging it by keep placing come bets to get that money up there, this money, if you roll a 7, you'll get that back. So if I put $500 in here and I roll a 7, yes, I'll lose this, but I'll get 500 here. It kind of hedges that. And anyway, so that's kind of your plan B. If you lose your don't come bet, I do not establish another don't come bet during that round. I will just go ahead and keep putting a lot of money or more money in the come bet. And quite frankly, I've had runs where, sometimes, and we've all seen them, the run where you get like 25 in a row without a 7. By the time it gets up to around 15 to 20, I've got, $2,000 in each spot in the cash register. I've got $1,000 in each spot in the cash register placed in odds, and I'm putting $2,000 here every time. So this is like, $10,000 up here, but every time you hit one of these numbers, you're getting like almost $5,000. So that's when this number goes up a crazy amount. And even now you saw it go up to almost $169,000 just with the system. But yeah, when the system doesn't work this other way, it works really well. You feel a little safe because you're hedging what you're building up here. And once it's all up there, and even then, if I've got, $2,000 or $3,000 in each one of these spots, and I've got a couple thousand or 1,000 in odds everywhere, when all of a sudden, after about 25 times, you take all the odds out. All you have to do is hit the clear button, and all the odds that you've placed will go back into your pot, because that 7 is coming pretty soon, and that way you won't lose it all. I don't know, it's just, you try it. It really works well. I've had runs, like once in a while, that crazy run where you get like 25 times without rolling a 7. I've had it where I easily increase my balance by $40,000. It's amazing. So that's just another little thing I've learned. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will probably make another one that shows that system working, where it actually the don't come bet fails, and then I just go crazy with the cash register. Alrighty, well, thanks a lot for joining me. I hope you liked it, and hope you join me for the next video. Have a nice day. Bye.